Do I look fuzzy? I feel like I might.
It's all good.
And my
You'll be
headphones
okay.
are. I forget how to make it happen.
Okay, that's apparently happening.
Oh,
Okay, we
I messed up.
are
I don't
live
know
on
how to
the
fix my
interwebs.
headphones today.
We're live on the interwebs, and the volume is working.
Sorry, what?
Oh, let me put the standard post on here.
Yes, I'm turned. Let's see here.
So tell us about your couple of weeks, Stephanie. We
Oh,
missed
Lord
you while you
Almighty.
were sick.
So my husband took my kids to my in-laws. Um, Hang on, let me finish writing the little welcome thing. Hello, everyone. We have Sherry, Happy Bergmeyer, Candace, and Elena. Did I say that right? I don't know. They've all said hello and good evening. Um,
Not very loud, and I'm turned all the way up. Am I doing something crazy?
I can hear you.
We can hear you really well.
Hmm, No, it's just me.
You are having technical difficulties tonight.
Yeah, tonight is all about the technical difficulties. The construction crew accidentally cut my fiber line.
Oh no.
So yeah, I can't hear you guys like at all. Well, I can hear you like.
I wonder if you put in your headphones if you'll
I'm gonna try.
have better luck.
Let's see if they connect.
Alrighty, we've
I can't
got.
handle this technology.
We are getting old. Oh Lord, I felt my age when I was walking all around Chicago today. That was sure. Well, all week really. All right, so my husband took my kids to my in-laws and stayed there for 2 days. So I had 2 complete days of sewing, and I took great advantage of it. And I have 3 projects, and they're like 3 big quilts, like ready to go, ready to film for the book. And everything is done on them except what I need to do in order to like film the construction process. And then I can put them together quick and get them off my quilter. I had hoped to do that last week. But when my husband returned, he returned with the plague and gave me the plague. And then I was very sick and it was not very fun. And and I could not speak on Friday night without pain. And I still had to on Sunday drive my children. Well, first on Saturday, I had to run them everywhere, all over the place. Like we were running literally from like 9 in the morning to like 6 something at night to get ready to go out of town and just do all their activities. Chantel got an awesome haircut, by the way.
I did.
Yeah.
I got a
I
haircut too,
chopped
but
it
it's
all
not that
off.
dramatic. I like it.
It was after I put the dog's hair on my face, and I thought, did you
You were
see that?
inspired. I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, no, that really wasn't what it was. I had shingles back in December, and it caused me to have like a massive hair loss type thing. And so I was getting to the point where even though my hair was long, not much of it was left at the bottoms.
Hmm.
Um, so I kind of had to do it to get my hair healthy again. But
Grown
Well, it
hey, it
in.
looks
grows
good.
back.
It does.
Oh, thanks.
I kept mine a little shorter than I intended, but hair grows. But anyway. So anyway,
10
so
times the hair I have.
I'm very sick and I am running the kids everywhere Saturday. And then Sunday I like took a COVID test just to make sure I wasn't like bringing that and to my parents' house and I that was not the thing, but it was not fun. And so then I drove them in Sunday and basically I've carted them all around Chicago all week because my daughter Angela does dance lab at the Joffrey every summer for ballet and she loves it. And so I just basically cart children around and let them live their best life and
That's
try
all.
and work a little bit while that's happening. But So it's just been exhausting because the last 2 years we've stayed with my parents who are in the northern suburbs. And so that means commuting 3 hours a day plus commuting around the city to get to the various attractions. So it's just it's a long, long week. I told my husband that I probably am going to lock myself in the bedroom on Sunday because he's not here with me. He's working at home. So like you're gonna have them. I'm probably gonna lock myself in the bedroom and just like sleep, maybe read a book. I don't know. Um, and then I will return to my normally scheduled tasks after that. But I don't know. We'll see. Do any of you guys
Uh,
like that? Like you're like fully responsible for something, and then you're just like, okay, I need
then you're
like
fully
I
unresponsible. Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly. Give me a day when I have nothing to do and we're good to go. But yeah.
So did the kids wind up getting sick as well? Did you have to take care of them while you were sick?
Yeah, they weren't as bad as me. Um, Angela kind
That's
of
the
had
worst.
like, you know, a really runny nose and her voice was off a little bit. My voice is still off a little bit.
Yeah, I can tell. I was gonna say you can still hear that you're recovering.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and then
I have
Monday,
the sniffles today too.
do you?
So if you hear
Everyone, it's
sniffing, it's
getting
probably me.
summer colds at the moment. We've got Catherine on from South Australia. That's
Ooh.
cool.
Nice. What
She's
time is
recovering
it
from
there?
shingles on her face in the moment. So that
Oh
sounds awful.
Lord, girl, I can't
Ouch.
imagine. I mean, I was extremely uncomfortable when I had shingles, but at least it was like on my flank.
But yeah,
You're gonna hear me sniff every time the Oliso comes up. Like I'm gonna try to hide my sniffs behind the Oliso scooter and I'd be like,
I'm not really hearing it. So that's okay. But yeah,
oh,
so that's what I've been up to. And it feels weird. Like my book is literally due in 2 weeks. And
How
I
close are
have,
you?
so I've already emailed
she's
my
2 weeks
editor.
out. She'll have it done in 2 weeks.
I will
It's
not.
Stephanie.
I've already emailed my editor to let her know that the Spoonflower ones are not going to be done on time. Um, but I should be able to have the rest of it done, hopefully. But if all goes well, I should film Monday, get those three big projects to the quilter on Tuesday. And I mean, I do have to like work too, but I have one of my clients at least is kind of in a little bit of a pause at the moment. And so I we'll see, but it should be fine. The stuff I have left is small, but it's all things that have to be done almost 100% on camera, which are the projects I hate the most.
Yeah.
I like it when I can have a quilt mostly done. I just have to do a block on camera. That I'm good with because that's like a 45-minute to an hour and a half tops filming session. And I don't know, it's just challenging, but
But when did the kids
we shall
start
see.
school?
Not until after the deadline, like a week after the deadline. Great timing,
Oh,
right? But silver lining, they are gonna be well, one of the little one will be in camp all week, and then they're going to my in-laws for like a week or week and a half, something like that, because I don't have camp available for my little one the week before school starts, so they're just gonna take them. So
oh,
I will
well,
be able to like
do they want to
work
take
all
mine
day if I
too?
want to. I know, right? I love them. It's great when they just like take my children for me.
Oh,
But especially after this week where I really didn't get much of anything done. But what are you guys working on?
you got a lot done, just not sewing wise, huh?
No, I made memories this week.
You made memory.
Lots of
That's the big
memories.
stuff.
I know, right?
Well, I'll be making memories next week when grandbaby number two
That's
decides to bless us
exciting.
with his
Wait,
presence. Yeah.
I is it next week already? I thought it
Yes.
was supposed to be the 13th or something like that.
They have moved it. Well, her due date was the 24th, they moved it up a week to like the 18th, and then now they've moved it up again to the 12th. So we're like, okay.
Oh my
She
gosh.
she had an appointment on Thursday, and she talked to him. She said, well, if I feel okay, she said, can I, push it out a little bit later on that week? And they said, yeah. I mean, everything's going good. I mean, there's no issues or anything, but early on she had that high blood pressure, and I think
Yeah,
that
you
kind of,
never know when that'll rear its head again.
yes, and you
I
have to
I
worry
had to
about
At
deliver
the
that.
early.
end.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to deliver early because of that with
Yeah.
Angela.
And so I think that's why they're saying it, is because they don't want to risk that it would, pop back up out of nowhere. But yeah, her blood pressure was awesome the other day. Couldn't get much better.
That's
So
good. Maybe
That's
she was
because her
just
husband's
stressed early
away.
on.
No husband to give her soul that stress. I'm just
I
kidding.
know. So we heard from him, and
Good.
he's it's tough, basic training is tough. It's not easy,
Oh.
but he's making it through. We sent him some new boots because they gave him boots that were like 2.5 sizes too small.
Oh.
Yeah. So he got those.
That's
So that's good.
crazy.
But hopefully we'll hear from him again on Sunday. We have to figure out how to notify him though, because it's not like she can just call or video.
So I don't know if y'all can hear me,
Mhm.
but it's said something about my camera is being used in another app and I have to close it. So I'm trying to figure that out if y'all are
We
hearing
can
me
Okay.
hear you, but we can't
We
see you.
can.
or seeing me. I don't think so, but
Yeah,
Hi,
we
Donna.
We can
can't see
hear
you.
you, but not see you.
Can hear you, Donna.
Well,
But yeah,
all of that is exciting. I guess you're not too worried about your Halloween hexy coffins getting for me to send them, immediately then, because you're not going to be doing
yeah.
that.
If you need an extension, do we need to change our date?
She hasn't sent my templates until today. So I ordered that template like a week
Yeah, I
and a
know.
half ago, and she just sent it today. So it's not even supposed to get here till Monday. So I waited 2 weeks now for that silly template. I'm like, I'm just gonna start cutting things out because I'm not waiting for that template.
Yeah, I'm fine. We don't, I know we set the deadline for the end of August. We could do like the end of September. Trust me.
Oh no. The end of August is fine.
Okay.
Just initially I thought it was the beginning of August.
No.
So we're good then.
End of
Yeah.
August means her kids will be back in school.
Oh yeah. And Penny starts daycare.
Ooh.
So yeah.
5 days a week or 3 days a week?
3. So
Nice.
One of the ways my husband and I like to keep our spark alive is like,
get out of here. Go on.
Donna. We're hearing about marriage sparks over
keeping
here,
the
Donna.
spark alive. Are you using quilts inappropriately?
You laugh, but I'm always
keep our
like,
spark alive. It's like,
Donna, I'm gonna mute you till you figure out your issues over there, okay? You could come back on anytime. But
That's funny.
you laugh. But I will be like, the shell Rummel quilt needs to come off the bed. We can't mess up the shell.
I know, right?
And my husband, who worked with me for many years, had no shell Rummel fabric like crazy. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Like I can't be like, what quilt can I go grab? And I'll tell him where it is and like who the designer is, and he'll go get it. He knows what it is. And
That's amazing.
it is amazing.
So what have you had any time to sew, Chantel? Have you had any chance to complete
well, let's see. A week ago, I don't have it down here. I was gonna yank it, but my daughter grabbed it. So Penny's really into puppies right now, and she insists on sleeping with like 27 of her closest fluffy puppy friends. And so I made her a bag that has puppies on it.
Aw.
Because she was using like a reusable shopping bag from like the library or something like that to carry all these puppies around everywhere. And she's 2, so like adorable, worthy of making a bag for. So I did that. And then I have everything cut out to make this elephant right here.
Oh,
See
Are you
fun.
doing it in Tula?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be an elephant of elephants.
Very cool.
That's perfect.
And I'm working on ironing, 7,000 pieces of Halloween fabric because I'm cutting all those pieces out. And
It's
I just
okay.
got another bundle of Halloween fabric. I couldn't help myself. Gwendolyn and I have an addiction to Halloween fabric, apparently.
It is
I
definitely
may have some
thing.
extras from the quilt that I'm doing for the book.
Did you finish the one quilt, the star one that you were doing for the
No,
book?
I had to film. I
Okay,
didn't
that's
get
the
to
one you have
film.
to.
Like I thought, like I worked my tail off basically like Sunday through Tuesday. I probably did like 30 hours in 3 days at least. And then and that was all like sewing machine stuff. And then Wednesday I was like pooped. And then by Thursday I was like sick. I'm like couldn't film. And then I'm like, oh crap, this is not good. So it was not a good week for Stephanie the last week, but it's okay.
That's okay.
I
You'll catch up. Will
I
your
will.
will your editor allow you to extend it all?
Oh, I've extended almost every one by a week or so. It won't be a big deal. I found out this time around, they asked for stuff like a month before they actually need it because they know that no one's going to get it to them on time. I mean, basically, what I need to do is order a bunch of stuff from Spoonflower. And I was kind of waiting because I knew it was going to take a while. And I'm actually kind of glad I waited because it was so cute. I don't, where do I have my phone? Um, one of the things while my daughter was dancing is we went down to the Children's Museum in Chicago, and Lily spent like the entire time in the Maker Lab
Oh wow.
doing art. And so I felt like I spent like $60 for her color stuff, but whatever.
She
It's what
got
it
to do
is.
it in a awesome location, right?
She did. It was pretty cool. But they were pretty excited. Like that they seemed like they were happy with where she's at from 3. So I think it would be really fun to show like the progression from Potato Mommy to where she's at now, um, with her art. Um, where were we?
Have a before and current.
So this is maybe it'll work. This is her and her art, and it's very
Oh,
like abstract, modern, like with these paint stick things. They're called quick sticks. It's tempera paint in like it looks like a glue stick.
I've never
Um,
seen that before.
they were so cool, and I mean they go on a little wet, but they dry really fast, and they're obviously very pigmented and bold. And so there is like within a block of the Joffrey, there's a Blick art material store. So we popped in there to see if we could find them because they didn't have them in the museum store. And we couldn't find that, but we could have found Chunkies, which we've used before and she really likes. So um the kids both have like a budget of what they're allowed to spend, and when it's gone, it's gone. So she definitely wanted those. So we now
Blick
have like a
over there is the best. That's where I used to buy all my supplies when I was in design school in Chicago.
yeah. Well,
Well,
you
I mean,
probably
when I
went
could
by the
afford them,
Joffrey
of
all the
course.
time,
Yeah, no,
but
I was down there all the time.
is there a costume shop above that services like the theater
Oh,
on
I don't know.
Randolph across the street from the Joffrey? I gotta look this up now. Lily had my phone and was watching like a million videos
So you
just
couldn't, yeah.
today. So I couldn't look at it in the moment. But it looked like there was some kind of like some sort of clothing making shop like directly across from the studio, which is fun. Yeah, I do need to frame that picture. But what's actually going to
What,
happen?
Potato Mama?
Oh, the one that Lily did. I think what I'm going to do for the kids' art quilt, I'm going to call it like art class, I think. And I'm going to do like Potato Mama all the way up to where she's at today. So it'll be like a 1 year progression of Lily's art,
There's
which will be
Oh,
really
cool.
fun because I've been
You know what
saving stuff from both kids,
you know what
but I
you could
think that would
do?
be better.
They have those books my mother-in-law makes one every year of all Theron's pictures. So like
Mhm.
he has year 1, year 2. You could do one of those books of all of her artwork.
I could.
That would be cute.
That would be
Donna's
really cool.
getting camera issues on her laptop, so she's trying her other one. Sounds good. Donna, do you want me to kick you out of this one so you're not in twice? Um, but
And then
definitely
that
no.
would be she would
There's
she would
Chicago costume on Randolph right across from it.
Nice.
she would
I
have
need
all of that artwork in a book like forever. So when she's
Well,
old,
this was specifically something that was requested by my editor that I do that, but in quilt form. So basically, I have to scan in all the artwork, and
Did you look up Honest Fabric, like I told you about?
I did. I didn't see where I could do my own designs.
Oh, I know for sure that they do that, but
Do they?
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
check it out. But yeah, I think I'm still gonna order Angela's one first because it sounds like, and I don't know if any of you guys have used Spoonflower, that the actual quilting is not super soft.
You want to use
Um,
like the poplin.
but that the
yeah,
poplin is better.
I ordered one a couple years ago, and I got the poplin, and the poplin wasn't too bad. But I
Yeah.
had them send me a sample of a different one, and when I got the sample, I was like, "Oh no, that was like cardboard. Heck no."
At QuiltCon this year, they had all of them at their booth. And so
Yeah.
I was like
You felt them.
over there, fondling the fabric to figure it out. Because I took a fabric design class, and one of the things that we did was make it so that I can upload to Spoonflower and like do repeating patterns and things like that.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I was very personally involved with that fabric. I wanted to know
What you were
the
getting
poplin
into.
is, yeah, the poplin's definitely the
The one to do it with. Okay.
mhm,
Good to know.
yeah.
I will do that then.
I
But I
don't know
wanted
how I
to,
missed them at QuiltCon.
What's that?
I don't know how I missed them at QuiltCon.
They were like right at the entry, but there was so much exciting stuff. It was hard to
Yeah.
see. I got actually that's some drama. I'm sure some people on here might know about that.
wasn't a
QuiltCon's
lot of people having
registration
trouble?
got all jacked up.
Yeah, I
I
was
heard
going
about
to ask
that.
you how your experience was with that because I've heard some horror stories.
I'm clever, so it worked out fine
Oh,
because when
good.
it stopped working, I immediately went to the forums and started paying attention. And somebody posted, one of whoever was in charge posted a link, go here instead.
Right. The new link. Yeah.
And I went to the new link pretty much immediately and I got in everything I wanted to get into.
Oh, good. How many classes did you sign up for?
I ended up signing up for 4.
Oh my God.
Because nobody's going with me.
Right. You're going to give
So
you.
I'm going by myself and I'm an information hoarder. This is what I do. But I got into Leo Ranson's class, which is like the two color portraits
Right.
That
in
looks cool.
quilts. Veruca's class from Pride and Joy, where she does her foundation paper piecing. She's the one that
Very
did the
nice.
quilts that are like Joan of Arc
Yeah.
or Lady with the Pearl Necklace and stuff like that.
Her stuff's
Super
beautiful.
stoked about that. I got into a course on making my own foundation paper piecing, which I totally want to know how to do. I saw somebody make their own foundation paper piecing pattern of ranch dressing, and it was like, this is my calling. Like, I should be making random like condiments as
Yes.
well. So that, and then Jen Kingwell is teaching out
What?
there.
I didn't even know she was doing a class.
Yeah. And
Oh,
I got
wow.
into it. And you know me and my handiwork. So it was
Oh.
like, oh. So yeah, I'm taking a lot of classes, but I got lucky. Now, if they end up keeping it all, or if I end up keeping all the classes, I don't know. But a lot of people had really, really bad luck. I did not have bad luck.
Oh,
I had
good.
great luck.
Laura O'Neill on YouTube says she is also an information hoarder and is crying laughing twice at that phrase. So you've
Yeah.
connected with your people.
Yeah. Welcome to my world. Yeah. No, I have to
Welcome
hoard
to
all the
my world.
information, whatever I can. And then the fabric too. That's my other hoard.
Only the neon fabric.
Only the neon fabric. I mean, this one looks almost dirty-ish. Oh no, maybe not. It really is only brightly colored. I was trying to find some purple fabric the other day that was more like a purple with no pink in it, and I couldn't find any
So did
in
you
my
end up having to go
stash.
buy it?
No, I just gave up, and it was a project in the moment. I was making improv blocks this week.
Oh,
Yeah. I think I posted some of those on my Instagram, but here's some of them.
That's
And
fun.
I was going one by one and using a little bit of the one from the previous one to make the next one.
I don't
And I got
remember
all the way
seeing
to like
those facts.
here, and I was like, I don't have blue purple.
Oh,
It just doesn't exist for me. And I'm going through all of these, and I'm like, I don't have
Okay,
it.
I'm seeing you on Saturday or Sunday. Would you like me to bring my solids?
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
I know improv
I
piecing
only need
is out of your comfort zone. So how is that going?
it's getting better. It's getting a lot better because I made a rule. Like my rule was that I used two fabrics and that the one of the fabrics was the main color from the previous. So the major color in one block turns into the minor color in the next block. And
Okay.
it all goes progression. And then they're all essentially inserts. So
I don't
now
think
it's
that
going on.
improv necessarily means that you do nothing with no plan. I think it mostly
No,
just
not at all.
means you can set parameters and then work within those parameters.
I was going very feral at first. That was my problem, is that I was just like grabbing random things and putting it together. But it's really more like cooking. You got to grab things that are at least going to like make sense together. We don't put
exactly.
noodles in our cheesecake, right? Like,
Wait, we
Mhm.
don't?
that's how
What?
what?
But you can put
Well,
bacon on anything,
but you can put bacon on anything. And that's
for
what we're
sure.
trying to find is the bacon. The bacon in my room is pink, I think.
Perhaps.
Well,
Oh,
let's hope
Laura's
not.
getting ready to bind
Pink
her first
bacon
real
and brick.
quilt, and she has questions on how
Nice.
wide to cut her binding. So, Laura, most people cut 2.5 inches by width of fabric when they are starting. Eventually, you can go down to 2.25 inches once you really get the hang of it and you're really consistent. But like on my patterns, I write 2.5 on everything because I assume like everybody is going to need that extra bit. So I don't want anyone to not have enough fabric. So that is a good
Yeah.
place to start. 2.2 or 2.5 inches by width of fabric.
I use that anyways still because I like to have that extra, but I like the thickness that gives.
Yeah.
Although I'm going to try facing a quilt here eventually. I
Apparently, two of my friends who are in the Peoria Modern Quilt Guild but live in the Quad Cities, um, they do that pretty often.
it's one of those things that I like to figure out how to do it for these improv quilts because it kind of
Weird
take away
to
from the
go
art.
around it. Yeah. See the binding.
Okay,
Mhm.
so explain to me the difference between improv and something like not planning or something like scrappy or, help me define the difference.
So improv versus, well, scrappy is still somewhat to a pattern, right? Improv is more to a concept.
Okay.
So you come up with a concept essentially of what you're trying to portray. Think of like whose line is it anyways? But quilting, right? Like they get a
Oh,
subject, they kind of go
okay.
with it,
Okay.
right? That's kind of what you're doing with improv quilting, where your curves might not be like a complete matchup. Your measurements are definitely a dash, a handful, bigger, littler, things like that. Whereas scrappy, I'm thinking more of like the pattern of the fabric, or maybe I'm following the pattern and I'm tweaking it. But improv is more just off the cuff.
Okay, so when you do improv, you can still plan your fabrics then. Just
You took the most part. Like I gave myself some parameters and rules, but they're very like my rule was that the next block will use some of the fabric from the previous block and a new color that
okay.
kind of goes in a progression. And then I just did inserts for mine. So like I'm reading a lot of books about it right now. So in that one I inserted this kind of rough curve.
Like a dome.
And this one I was like, oh, let's try a half square triangle. And then I didn't quite like it. So I added a little curve to it. And this one was more like I still have fabric and I need it to be bigger. So I just kept on adding to it. And this one I inserted an X. So basically I made it and then I cut it in half and then I inserted another piece.
Now, will you?
And I
you
just
will
kind
do
of,
that-
and so they're all numbered because they do have an order. Like
That's
the
what I was
main
gonna
color
ask.
of this one is the minor color of this one.
So you want those next to each other, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I started in red and got through orange and pink. And then I found out that I don't have like any of the purples that kind of turn into blue. But purple and blue are really not my thing. So it makes sense that I wouldn't have that.
I have that.
But
It'll be
yeah,
fine.
you do.
I have so many solids. I have all the tulip pink
Awesome.
solids somewhere.
Oh, I've
I
used
got
so
them
many of
all.
them.
I don't know if the tulip pink solids. I think the tulip pink solids are in with tulip pink. I couldn't tell you for sure though. But like for example, like when I do my quilts, I don't like I have an idea of where things are going, but I also plan it out in a way that other people can replicate that. No one's going to replicate what Chantel's doing
Right.
beyond the concept.
No, there's no measurements involved. So everybody can
Yeah.
go in and essentially say, I'm going to do inserts and I'm going to take the color before and use it as a minor color in the next one and go that way. Like it's a concept, it's a general rule. It's like the improv guys are never going to have the exact same skit, even if they tried to.
But you could, even though it comes from improv, you could take your improv and create a pattern for it so that it can
Oh,
be
essentially, yeah. And sometimes people use improv as a way to brainstorm and kind of do
Yeah.
block studies,
Okay.
which then they refine and turn into something else. But I feel like I need this. Like, I feel like I need to do more improv because I want to do more making without having to think all the way through all the consequences before I start. And I have a tendency to want to think through the whole thing
And
and
plan
not
it
do
all out.
anything.
Yeah,
I
we
kind of
talked
get
about
like
that.
paralysis by analysis.
We talked a lot about
Information
that
order.
the last couple months, and it's funny enough because this one that I'm working on, even though it's not improv based on what you have described, what I did do is I gave myself the parameter that I have to use the stash that I have. I can't, go out and purchase anything. But then also block by block, I have to pull it without planning it. So without, trying to
Okay,
mock
that's
it up,
kind of, yeah.
without trying to mock it up over in Procreate, right? Because I do everything and mock it all up to, even my Scrappy,
Yeah.
it's like plan Scrappy. So I'm not allowed to do that. I can
Yeah.
document it afterwards, but not before. I have to plan, and then what I choose is what I choose. So it's really outside of my comfort zone as well. So
So in a way, you're kind of improving your fabric choices, but not necessarily the dimension of the blocks and things like
right.
that.
It's funny
Yeah.
that we both decided to do
We
it.
got to push that. Yeah.
That's right.
I've kind of been doing something that I thought I would never do, and that is do like a hexy scrap quilt.
Oh, nice.
And yes, Chantel has been a bad influence on me. In the best way. In the best
In the
way.
best way.
But
That's how a good friend should be. A bad influence in the best way.
So
so
before you know
I
it, we'll be sending you Hexy Coffin.
no, please don't. I really
Just
only want
hexy
it to
hexies.
be I've been like fussy cutting, and I don't have any of them with me, but I've been fussy cutting um the leftovers from the projects I've been doing, and I started with the one I did for Free Spirit. I'm still working on editing that video because it takes so long to edit. It's such an involved there's just a lot of steps.
The
And
dupe
then
one, right? The Vera
yeah, the
Bradley
dupe,
dupe.
Vera Bradley dupe. And so I started with that one and I fussy cut it because it was so many cool little motifs that would fit in the 1 inch hexie. And that was so much fun. Um,
And 1 inch Hexies?
yeah, 1 inch
Mhm.
hexies.
Wow.
And
That's what I usually work with too, is the 1 inch.
and
That is
then I
some
started
small Hexies.
pulling ones from the quilts that are going to be in my book. And I'm trying to get like 4 or so that are from the same like fabric collection, but look different enough because with like the outers and stuff, just by how you fussy cut it or which fabrics are used with it. That way, someday there will be some kind of cohesion and repeat throughout it. But for right now, I think that's kind of my plan. I have sewed nothing, but I have fussy cut and I have started just organizing it. So now I found a thing on Amazon that I want to get to keep them in. That looks like it'll work.
Ooh,
So we'll see.
I'd like to know what that is because I have yet to find the right container for my.
Well, I'm gonna get it and we'll see, but it looks like it measures right. But
Hope so.
Do you have an
uh
affiliate Amazon
I
stuff?
do, yeah.
Maybe you
So
should link it so that
well,
if
I want
anybody
to get
wants
it
to.
first because
Oh,
I don't
okay.
want to be promoting it until I know for sure that
Until you
it's gonna
like it.
actually
Okay.
fit. Yeah. But so Laura has a question. She's learning and have bound one, and should she go from back to front or front to back? That is a very personal question. Or when because people do it both ways. What I like to do, I like to first of all, I hate binding quilts. It's my least favorite part of it, but I like the look of a hand stitched binding. So for me, that means I sew it to the front of the quilt, I wrap it around to the back, and I typically glue it down until it actually needs to be washed, and then I'll stitch it down um, in the back. But if you're gonna do it by machine, a lot of people will go um, from the back to the front, and then um, they will that way they can see what they're doing when they're stitching it down from the front. And Chantel is, I think, going to be out for a little bit. She's feeling a little off today. So there's that. It must have just come over her there.
Well, I finally
This
got my
is
computer
not the
fixed.
good time to be apparently female in Illinois because we're both coming down bad with stuff. But anyway, you're all ready to go, Donna. What have you been working on?
I'm finishing up my gnome quilt. I have my flying geese to add to the top and bottom borders, like it's a flying geese, like they're running along the top. Well, they go along the whole, they're around the whole quilt. I have them on the sides, but I've got them all put together for the top and the bottom border, and then it's ready to quilt. And so I was doing that, but then I was trying to get some stuff ready for Monday. I have a friend coming over. We're going to work on a little something for a retreat. I'll show you real quick. Hang on. Let me grab it.
So I've been working on the one that I'm working on that I was talking about. Well, Donna gets hers is Corey Yoder's pattern, Joy Filled, and I'm doing it in the sort of patriotic kind of colors, but not the typical just red, white, and blue. It's more of a red, white, and blue with some black incorporated in it and a little bit of light pink because the reds that I'm using is more of a wine or cherry kind of tones instead of like bright red. And I have a couple blocks after Donna finishes showing her gnome and stuff. I can show you.
Okay, so here's my gnome quilt that I have to add. I don't know if you can see it. Hang on, let me see if I can show it where you can see it better. So it has the flying geese along the sides, but I have to put it on the top and bottom. That's going to be entered in the show at the end of the month, so I got to get that finished. So I'm going to retreat on the 10th through the 15th. And a while back we made in a class, it's a thread catcher, and I put like I have like a cranberry juice thing, and I cut that and I insert it inside, right? And it's a thread catcher. So this little heart is a stitch on my Epic machine. Kind of hard to see it, but anyway,
That's cute.
so it's a
Very cute.
so what it does, it starts a little stitch and then it stops. You add the fabric behind the needle and then it quilts so that it, it stitches on that fabric, and then you trim the fabric, right? It's like, so that's what I was doing. Got to make 17 of them, right?
Oh my
And so
gosh.
I went in, and long story short, I had to call my dealer from who's Varna Viking, and she said, it sounds like a software issue. You probably need to update your software. It's like, well, before I went to my last retreat, like, in the middle of last month, I had my machine serviced, and I thought, well, wouldn't you have updated my software while you had it in the shop? But
Yeah.
apparently not. Apparently not. So I'm going to call first thing in the morning and find out about that. But what happened was, I don't have it with me. The heart, it stitched out one side was right. The other side, it kind of like went over some. And then when it come back down, it didn't make the point at the bottom of the heart because it was like 3 or 4 stitches over here. And I was like, that is weird. What is going on with that, right? So then I tried another design that's in that menu, right? They all are stitches that you can add, like you can put a little skirt on a ballerina and things like that, right? So the machine stitches a little bit, then it stops, and then it lets you put your fabric, whatever you're doing, right? And all of them were like that. That's when I called. So long story short, I thought, I got to find another design. I don't have time to take my machine. It's all the way on the other side of San Antonio. I'm out over 20 miles from 1604, which is the outer loop going into San Antonio. And they're all the way on the other side, right? So it's like, 3.5 hours it's going to take me just to run my machine over there and back. And I'm trying to finish these quilts. I want to finish them before I leave for retreat on the 10th. Well, that's what, 8 days away, and I don't have time to go running around. So, and I come down here to my brother, which is newer to me. It's a sewing and embroidery machine, but so that's what I've been doing. I went through and looked, and I found some designs, and I'm just going to do something different on the front of that bag. But I just figured it out because it's like, okay, I found a cute little heart, but it has a whole row of them. It's like, no, I can't do that. I want it to just stitch the one, right? So then when I went into I had to pull out I don't know if you can tell. This thing is huge. And find how to
Oh my
set the
goodness.
machine just to stitch one. But it ended up being not too bad to figure that out because it had.
That's an encyclopedia.
It is, but it actually goes through like part of the way through the last half or maybe the last 3/4 of the book. It's all kinds of projects, and it's showing you how to use your machine with the scan and cut and all kinds of stuff. But
That
anyway,
sounds fun.
now you probably can't see it, but I have one little heart motif on my screen. So now I'm going to figure out, is that the one I want to put or not? Because I'm actually using, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of fabric behind it. It goes on a little square of blue jean material. And so I was going to put this on and then, trim it off. around that heart. So we're going to see, yeah, before I start messing up my little squares I already have cut for these, I'm going to do a couple little practice runs and see what I like. But I'm beginning to think that I may do another one. There's one, it's got I think it's a thimble, a sewing machine, and then a spool of thread. Or you
That'd be
can
fun.
do, yeah, or you can do a spool of thread, a pin cushion, and some scissors. So it'd be like 3 things in a row. So it would be a little bit bigger, but I don't think it's going to be huge. And I thought, well, that would be cute. And then I can just maybe, I think I'll probably just get some fusible and put on the back of the fabric and iron it and then put that stitch in there. So that's a little bit more detailed than what I wanted to do, but I need to hurry up and finish. I want to get these done before my friend comes on Monday. We were going to do this project together. And I thought, well, if I can get those little things done, then all we have to do is stitch around those on the bag and then decorate the top of the bag and stitch what do you call it? When you cut out 2 squares on the bottom, yeah, you're making a bottom, kind of like for the basket. Can't
Do
think of what.
you um make stuff like this for every true retreat that you go to?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes it's not very involved, right? Like I'm trying to think what all I took. This last retreat I made, so I took a Tootsie Roll Pop, like the sucker, and I
Mhm.
took a fat quarter and I wrapped it around so it looked like a flower and then tied it on that stick and put it in a bag. So
That's
it was
cute.
like it was just like a little flower, right? But they got a fat quarter. One time I wrapped the fat quarters, they looked like a cinnamon roll and they went into a little, so you put them inside, they have the, instead of like the paper for a muffin or a cupcake, it's like a little Dixie cup. And I used a decorative scissor and cut so it had like a little scallop top. And you roll that fat quarter and it looks like a cinnamon roll. And then there was a little tray. I ordered the trays online for cheap. And so they each got 2 fat quarters and they were sewing fabric.
That's
So it
fun.
was like a little case of 2 like desserts, only they were
So
those.
what makes you decide, like, I'm gonna go all out for this one versus let's do a cute little fabric fold?
It depends on how late that I wait to start, right? And also it depends on how
Time is
many.
always the thing, right?
Well, it depends on how many are going to be there. Sometimes retreats are like 15 people, and sometimes there's 22 people, right? It's like, how many things do I want to make? How much time do I have? I made these pressing boards a couple years ago. This one's pretty nasty right now. I've got to put some new fabric on it, but it's just a piece of plywood, which I bought one sheet of plywood.
Yeah, you showed us that one before.
Yeah, I was thinking that I did. And so I made those. I made keychains one time. I made if y'all seen the Pioneer Woman little zipper tote bags that you make out of a placemat, Pioneer Woman placemat. You just add a
Not
zipper.
seen that.
Oh my goodness. I'd never made one. And I thought, well, those are really cute. And so I started looking at Walmart, and this was like at least 2 years ago. And so I would find them on sale and I'd buy 3 or 4, right? And then I'd buy 3 or 4 or 5, whatever, when they were on sale. They finally went up, they were almost $5 a piece. It's like, well, I'm not doing that because, when you're making for 15 people, that's what gets into a lot
That
of
gets
money.
expensive.
But
And all your time.
well, yeah, but you know what? When I started making those, I made one, and I think I made 8 or 10 that day. It was so fun. So it just takes a placemat and a zipper. That's it. And then
That
Well,
is kind of fun.
and
how
it's
many
really
retreats, Donna? How many retreats do you go to a year?
all right. So this year I have an extra one that I'm going to, so it's going to be 7 this year.
Wow. So you do this for 7 retreats a year. That's like more than every other month.
Yeah, yeah. Well, see what happened when I first started doing retreats, like 4 or 5 years ago. I got invited to this group up in at that time it was in Temple. In that group, that lady, she does it once a year, and it's called Beat the Heat. Well, in that group of people, all those people that I met, there's another lady, Cindy, that does 2 a year. So that ended up, that first retreat, I ended up having 3 retreats to go to in a year.
Wow.
And then and and they're kind of different a little bit, even though the one lady does 2, it's a lot of the same people for those. And then also one of the ladies that goes to those retreats, she has her own retreat, and that's coming up this week in Rockport in Texas. So it'll be at the coast. It's right by the ocean. It's a great place, but there's going to be 17 of us. Yeah, going to be big. So then I was at 4, right? Then so Becca had that one and said, "Oh, I think there's openings." And I thought that would be cool. Go to Alabama and have a retreat. So then I end up with 6, right? So yeah, and then I'm a member of 3 different guilds. So the guilds, they each have, they'll have maybe one in the spring or like in February, and then they might have another one in October or something like that. So I'm going to one of those this year in October, which I don't usually do. So
do you have like a favorite, or if you don't, what like what event, like, I don't know, I've heard some of them will you bring your own stuff, some of them plan things out. What do you like better? Can you give us
so yeah,
more information?
so far for next year, I have booked one for April with a group. It's called Everything AccuQuilt. I met her. She works at a quilt shop in Alabama, and she started noticing people that had bought AccuQuilt and they'd never taken it out of the box and they didn't know how to use it. So then she kind of started a Facebook group, and people were learning. Actually, she was doing videos and people started using it and making quilts. It's like, right, why spend the money and then you don't use it? And then now she started adding in a few retreats. So I think she does, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 a year. But anyway, this is the first time I thought that I would go to one of hers, and it's going to be in Tennessee. So she does have a schedule, kind of like, we're all going to be making the same quilt, right?
Okay.
And using the same stuff.
And so do you have to bring your AccuQuilt, or will she provide one for everyone?
Yeah, I'll bring mine. She said that like up to, if people want to share, only up to 2 share an AccuQuilt or whatever. But if she sends me like all the requirements, like I could have it all cut before I left, you know what I mean? And then not even have to take it. But it was a cute quilt, but that's the first one that I'll be going to that actually has a specific thing that they're doing. But the retreats, like, I'll just say the 4 or the 3. Let's just do the 3. The Beat the Heat retreat, she usually makes a gift for us of something like really nice. She makes for everybody. She made us all a really nice purse out of upholstery fabric. Everybody that came to the retreat got that. But we have certain things like we'll play left, right, center. We'll play 2 games.
Those are fun.
We split it up into 2 tables because there's like, 20 something of us or whatever. And so one game we play for a fat quarter and one game we pay for $1. So you either come to the table with 3 fat quarters or $3 and you play that. Sometimes she'll hand out some kind of little puzzle or something it's like on a sheet of paper. Maybe it's a crossword, or maybe it's quilting themes or something. And the first one turns it in, gets the such and such a prize or whatever. But mainly everyone brings whatever they want to work on. The one that I'm going to in next week, we have a gal. She actually brought her mother one time, and her mother she worked with beads, and she was beading, and she actually made this beaded case for like a kind of like the pool measuring tape, and like she just really dressed it up with beads. That was cool. And then Jen herself, she does cross stitch. So she doesn't bring a machine. She only works on cross stitch while she's there. So she doesn't actually get a table. There's a sofa there and a really nice table that sits out in front of it and stuff. And so she sits over there, right in that area, and works on her cross stitch while we sew. But sometimes, let's just take the one I went to in Alabama. We made and it's all volunteer. Like if you want to make it, fine. If you don't, fine. But usually the teachers will bring the supplies, or they'll say, bring a fat quarter, and I'll supply the zipper or whatever. We made a Hemingway bag. I did a class and brought all the fabric. I brought everybody a yard of fabric, and we made, they're called hobo bags. There was I don't know if you follow me on Facebook, you can find it, but it was a link that had 30 free patterns for bags and purses and totes and whatever. So I did that class one day. One day we had a pot holder class. We did it was kind of like a pot holder, but it was like a grippy on the backside for like opening jars.
Those are
Um,
great.
the gal that did the Hemingway pouch, she brought the zipper and pulls, and then we were supposed to bring 2 fat quarters. She supplied the batting that went inside it. And we also made a bowl koozie, and that was kind of a lot. Like, we usually don't make that many things, but one of my favorite projects that we did was that same group that I go to, Alabama. They actually had a retreat in February when we called it Snowmageddon here in San Antonio area, when we got all
Oh
the
my
ice
God.
and snow. Yeah, so I went to Georgia, went to St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Fantastic retreat. But she brought everything that you needed, and you just brought a fat quarter. And we made these, I call them a lingerie bag for throwing in the washing machine. It was
Yeah.
like fabric at the top with a zipper, the bottom was mesh, and I throw my bra in there and wash it, and I love that. And so I just ordered a thing of mesh, because my retreat in December, I'll make one for everybody.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
And because the zippers are cheap on Amazon, and it's pretty quick to make, right? But I think that my July retreat, I think, is the only one that we've like done projects while we're there, and they say, well, whatever. One year, I think it was in Georgia also, at St. Simon's, the same gal that did the lingerie bag, we did the hot dog pillowcase. She brought all the fabric. You didn't have to bring any fabric, so she brought all the fabrics. You chose 3 different fabrics and made your hot dog pillowcase. So, but
I used to
I
do
think
2
they're
a
all fun.
year, and it was through the guild. But like, I don't know if any of you guys ever read Jennifer Shiverini, but when I was a really new quilter and I just joined the guild, I read a book where like there was this big, like, I don't know, beef between the Elm Creek quilters and the local quilting guild. And I'm like, this can't really be a thing. Like, there's no way. And then, like, within the year, there were 2 big beefs at the guild. And I'm like, okay, I guess it is a thing.
Oh, wow.
But like, one of them was with the retreat. There were always 2 buildings. And, everyone would bring their food, and they would tally up the receipts of what the total food bill was, and then they would divide it by the number of people. Um, and you would need to pay like a little bit extra beyond whatever your meal was, so that way everybody paid like the same amount for food. And we're fine. Nobody ever complained about it, but the people in the other group didn't like it. And so they put us on a food budget that was lower for price per person than somebody who was on food stamps would receive. And we were like, you know what? We don't care. Like, it's not like it's a huge deal, but like, we come here and we like to like have good food. Like, I don't want to be
Yeah.
eating tuna casserole because it fits in the budget.
No.
Like, this is not a thing. So, we ended up kind of splitting off after that, because like nobody,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, they didn't
So
even listen to us. They were just like, well, we're just like, most of
this
the
is what
board
we're
was in
doing.
the
Yeah.
other group, and they're
We
like,
kind of
too
take
bad, so
votes.
sad.
Yeah.
I
We
know,
kind of take
right?
votes about what happens and how we do food. But
Yeah.
most of our retreats, one of my early on retreats here in Texas, the food was cooked for you. You left the sewing room, you went in, you sat down,
I
you
would
ate,
love that.
right? And it was all included in the price. Alabama retreat is the same way. She rings a bell when dinner's ready or brunch is ready. So there's 2 meals a day. It's brunch, and then a dinner around 5:30 or 6 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you just leave the sewing room, you go upstairs, you eat, and you get up and you walk back down. You don't cook, you don't clean, you don't do anything but just sew
I
and
would love
sleep
that.
whenever you want. But on our other retreats, like this one that I'm going to in August, we usually pair up sometimes depending on how many days we have, right? So there's 17 of us and we're going to be gone the 10th through the 15th. One night we'll go out like Saturday night. I'm actually going a day early on Saturday. We'll go out that night and eat. And then the other days we have brunch and breakfast, and people will just pair up, oh, you're going to do brunch and we're going to do dinner, and you fix whatever you want, right? We realize, I think that there's one allergy in all the group. They're allergic to walnuts. So nobody brings anything with walnuts in them, right? Or that's touched walnuts or whatever. But that's it. And we just pick whatever you want. Sometimes people will say, oh, well, I'm fixing, let's just say they're saying Mexican chicken or something, right? Then okay, that meal is, a Mexican meal is kind of spicy. You might want to have something meatloaf and potatoes or something another night. You know what I mean? So that somebody else doesn't do, oh, we're doing tortilla soup, and then the next person is making taco salad. You know what I mean? You don't want all Mexican. So we kind of look at what people are making, and people just pick the day they want to cook. I'd rather do a dinner because I want to sleep in early. I don't want to get up and have to have something on the table for everybody at 9 a.m. because, I want to sleep. I don't want to get up at 7 in order to have it all fixed. So
when we went with the guild, it was like, it's like a bunkhouse. Like it's sewing area in one spot, and then like bathroom and kitchen, and then in the back it's just bunk beds all the way down. And there would be like 20 of us in there. And one time somebody, I forget what they made, chili, something. It was a lot of beans, whatever it was. And I was up really late, really, really late working on something. And I went in, I was like one of the last people going in. And there's just this chorus of snores and farts all around me. And I was trying so hard not to crack up laughing and wake everybody up. But I'm just like holding my hand over my mouth.
Like, wake up, y'all. You're all farting. Go get an antacid. Go get a Beano or something, right?
It was just so funny.
Yeah.
It's just like dying laughing.
There's a lot of time. It's funny because as far as I know, and I haven't been told, that I snore, but I always get roomed with a bunch of people that snore. And I think just a lot of people snore, and so it's like, I don't worry about it. It's like, if they're not like sawing logs real heavy, I can fall asleep. And if I get woke up, I will go right back to sleep. Right. But somebody, they always say, if that's going to bother you, you better bring earplugs or some earbuds, right? Have some music going or some quiet noise or something. But one time, and it was at this retreat I'm going to this week, it was hilarious. This gal, I didn't know her very well. And there were 5 beds in that room. And I went to bed and I heard somebody talking, right? And it was like gibberish. You couldn't understand. So I knew she was talking in her sleep. Then all of a sudden she starts hollering, like she is hollering, and she's loud and she's almost screaming. Everybody else in the room still sleeping, didn't wake up or anything. And I almost went over to wake her up. I was like, she's having a nightmare, And but I didn't know her very well. And I thought, good grief, I go over there to wake her up. She may jump up and deck me out or whatever. But that's the only time I've had, where it was hard for me to go to sleep because she did it like 3 or 4 times that night. And so it's like, I'm glad I'll look at the room list, before we go and make sure she's not in my room. But the other ones didn't wake up.
The only time I had an issue with that, I had gone to Paducah and I brought an employee with me to help me man the booth. And she needed a CPAP, but she didn't know she needed a CPAP yet.
Yeah.
And I was they had like screwed up our reservation. So there was one bed and I was on a cot that was not comfortable. And so I'm laying on this thing and like my anxiety is going insane because it was before I was like really like doing anything for myself. And I'm like listening to this like with just tissue paper from the bathroom shoved into my ear so that I can maybe block it out a little bit. And I ended up designing one of my best-selling quilts of all time in the middle of the night that night because I couldn't sleep. When I had insomnia, like my quilt designs were like really good. I most of my quilt designs that are awesome are with like middle of the night creations.
Well,
So
this for me, so I'm usually always one of the last to go to bed, right?
yeah,
2
same.
or 3 o'clock in the morning, that's me, right? And
Me too.
so it was just hilarious. I don't know. I was just glad that everybody else got to sleep and I finally was able to sleep. But yeah, I just don't let that bother me. And if it did, I would wear earplugs or, put in my earbuds or something and have
Yeah.
some quiet noise or something else going on. But we always have a really good time. Every single retreat I've been to, I've really enjoyed it. I really have a good time.
Yeah, they're really funny time from that. My friend was sleeping next to me, and at the time we had a blind cocker spaniel that we were fostering named Cuddles that snored like a freight train in my face all the time. So you'd have to like roll over and be like Cuddles and like push her a little, and then she would move and she would stop snoring. And so I did that, and I'm just like Cuddles, and then I'm like, oh, that's Heather, and she's not next to me. She's in the But I don't know. We're trying to get back together. We haven't been together in like years because of pandemic and people's lives getting crazy. But we're trying to make something happen for October. So I don't know. I have to check and see. My husband has some vacation time then and see if I can maybe have him handle things at the house and let me get away for him a little bit.
Yeah, I am. I tell people all the time, it's like I'm pretty spoiled. My husband works a lot. Um, my hang on, I'm looking for my snips. Um, my husband works a lot, and so I'm at home a lot by myself, and so it's not much different. Like for me to go to retreat, I just go and be with friends. So
Yeah.
he takes care of all of his own food and all his stuff anyway, and he takes care when I go. He takes care of my horses and my outside dogs, and then my inside dog I take to a dog sitter, which is kind of hard in a way because I mean she's the gal that keeps him. She's really good, but I'm having to pay another bill, right?
Oh yeah,
For
I
the
know. I have
dog,
three of them.
for the dog. But the other two they're outside, and so my husband feeds those, and he feeds my three horses while I'm gone. So
See,
so
I'm
that's
super nervous about leaving for the graduation for my son-in-law for his from basic training because our dogs have never been in a kennel and we don't have anybody because normally if Matt and I leave to go out of town, our daughter watches them. If she goes out of town, we watch them and
right.
stuff. I'm super nervous about that.
Well, for
We
me,
found
I
like
wouldn't put
the
mine in a
poshest
kennel.
kennel.
Yeah, I wouldn't put mine in a kennel unless that was the absolute only way. I would try and find a friend. You can even hire somebody to come in and house sit for you that'll take care of your dogs. That'll be cheaper than a kennel, and they won't have to be away from home.
There is
It's
that.
just whatever you want. Yeah,
I've
Well,
done
the
so much
kennels
of
at our
that.
vet, so
That
I'm
makes
not
you feel
worried.
good.
Yeah, I'm not.
yeah. But
It's
there
not
are
like
other dogs there, and they're always barking. So that,
but
yeah, I've
yeah,
worked in
that's the
vet
thing.
office. Yeah,
They'll be away from home and they'll be, around the barking and the meowing and the other animals and they're not used to that. And they'd be scared, oh no, what happened? Where's, mom and dad, because they're
well,
like,
maybe take them for a day. Take them for a day and board them for just one day, right? And then kind of see how it goes because you'll know. I mean, some dogs they're okay with it, right? But it's a lot of commotion, and that's why I don't like to kennel. I don't put mine at a vet or a kennel or whatever unless it's absolutely necessary. I worked at a vet's office, and they do their, it's just commotion all day long until the
yeah,
office closed, and then they kind of settle down and stuff. But still, it's a lot on them.
it is.
I prefer to
Especially
have
because
someone
all
in
they
the
do is lay
house.
around and sleep.
I prefer to have someone in the house, but the last time we had it, it was really hard to get anyone to come. And the Cocker Spaniel, who was my grandma's, has very bad separation anxiety. And when
Mm,
I'm gone and he's not in a crate, he will pee on something. And we
yeah.
came back home and he had peed every single couch cushion, all of my
Oh,
pillows in my bed,
oh,
Oh
no.
like
gosh, no.
everywhere. And like it was very obvious that the person who was in the house just didn't listen. And then the Basset Hound had eaten like $200 worth of Lego from my kid. It was just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
it's not
So,
good.
so
So
the
like
thing
after
about
that,
having
we're like,
somebody come
you
in,
guys have to go now. And we
So is
found the
that a
cautious one.
service?
but we have
No, it wasn't. It was just, a recommendation of someone.
Ah,
yeah, we have people that like in our area, they advertise that that's what they do, and
yeah.
they're very professional. And then my friend, she went on a cruise. It was actually like her and I don't know, 20 something of their family members. They all went on this cruise,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And she hired a friend to come in and watch, make sure her dogs went out and that the litter, because she said she cleans her litter boxes like 3 times a day. She said she doesn't want them go. I was like, well, to me, I thought that was excessive, but that's what she does, and that's what she wants done when she's gone. So that's what so that's what she did. So that worked for her, I think, to do that. A friend, but two, you have to be able to trust somebody to come in your house. That's a whole different ball game for me. I don't think I'd want somebody coming in. I know that it works for a lot of people,
Yeah.
but it's like I would have to I'd have to totally clean my house like of everything that was, like bills and, take out my laptops and my desktops and I don't know, I just would feel like people are just generally nosy, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that either.
I mean,
But
I even thought about
well,
selling Biscuit, but so that I didn't have to take him to this gal, so I wouldn't have to pay all because I am gone a lot. But
Well, I mean,
you
if
know,
we got a
that's good.
hotel that allowed animals, I guess we could take them with us, but then we'd have to still find like a daycare down there where we could put them, in the doggy daycare for the day while
how
we're,
many of them are there?
well, the cats would be fine. The cats would
Yeah,
be fine for 3 days. But we have two dogs and
just
they're,
board them together in the same kennel,
well, and they're both,
and they'll
um,
have a friend. That's what we do, and
they're
it works out
both
pretty
over
well.
10 years old. So that's another thing that I worry about is because they're old and they're so lazy. Like they don't do anything. All they do is sleep. So if they are in like a kennel with all these dogs, I mean, listening to you guys talk about it makes me think that all these dogs barking and everything, they're gonna have so much anxiety and who knows.
But
My
at night,
dogs
if
are
it's
usually
quiet,
fine. My dogs have been fine.
at
Yeah.
night, if
Remy
it's
one
quiet.
time was not fine because we had them all boarded separately because I was worried that that
Do
Jelly
something.
Roll was so much larger than him that he would hurt her or she would hurt him by accident. And they once they got all put together, they were peas in a pod. They were fine. Laura on YouTube says that they kennel their dog at the vet and that the dog actually gets excited when she sees her overnight bag.
Oh, okay.
Um, and so, maybe just give the vet permission to give them a little doggy,
Oh,
downer if they need it,
sure.
But
For sure.
one
They
time
just
I
need
did
dogs
that.
are fat
Expensive.
and happy
Yeah,
with
it's expensive, and then they want you to have all these different shots. I only do rabies shots for my dogs. They don't get anything else. I don't think they need it. But if I have to board them at a vet's office, they got to have all kinds of stuff, and then you've got that expense, So just do
Laura
what works.
says her
Do
dog
what works
acts
for
like
you.
she's going on a spa retreat.
What?
But yeah, ours go to a real fancy thing out in the country and they get walks in the woods and
Oh, see, I wish I could find something
yeah.
like that. Would be amazing.
There's
Oh
a
yeah.
new like chain in town where you can like have them get some kind of bacon breakfast. And
Oh
I'm
my
like, this is excessive. Dogs don't need that. Just walk them, they just need to be walked. Like get them out of that cage for a little bit, walk them. That's all we need. But
That's
but yeah, it is expensive. Where for our three,
Bacon breakfast.
it can be like $500 for a week sometimes with all three of them.
Mm-mm. No,
But
I pay $15 a day And this lady, she keeps him, and he does. When he gets in the car, like he knows he's going, right? His bed is laying there, and his dog food bowl is there, and his favorite toy. And he knows where he's going. And he does. He gets all excited. But he also gets all that excited too when I come back home. So that's good.
For me, it's just like after those dogs like did a number on my house, I was like, all right, you're never staying here by yourself ever again. Like
No.
Remy's so bad. Well, my office is downstairs. And so I'll go down there and he'll follow me down and he'll stay with me for a little while. And then he'll go upstairs for a change of scenery. But he'll forget that he walked himself upstairs away from me and that I am still in the house. And
Yeah.
so I will hear him howling crazy while
Forgot. He's
I'm
like,
downstairs. And I'm like, I better get my butt upstairs or he's gonna pee on something because he thinks he's alone and he's not in his crate. And so like I'll be on like a Zoom call with like Ray and John for the cruise stuff for the quilting cruise. And I'm like, hang on guys, I gotta yell at the cocker spaniel. And then he looks at me like, where did you come from? And I'm like, I have been here the whole time. I was at my sewing machine. Come downstairs. I've been here. You left me. And it's hilarious. I think it's really funny.
Yeah. I'll be right back. I gotta get me some different thread. I think I figured
Yeah.
out what I'm gonna do. And yeah, gotta get some thread from upstairs. I'll
I
be back.
do think I'm gonna wrap it up at around 11 tonight, because I've got to drive 3 kids home tomorrow and staying up until because I never can go straight to bed afterwards. I felt like need like a
Yeah.
wind down. And so I cannot be up till 2 in the morning tonight. That will not go over well.
Well, I just finished this one block. I have to pick out one section because it's not to my liking, but you won't be able to see that on camera. So I will
It is all
show you this block.
Ooh, that's fun.
So, and then I'm gonna bring it into the center. So
Is
you can
that
really-
is it like the only thing in it? I love that center. Or is it
So-
gonna be part of a bunch more like that?
Oh, this is the Joy Filled. So this
Okay.
is the first block in Corioto's Joy Filled that I have. Then she had a second block that is the same pattern, but like I had said earlier to Chantel, my rules for this is I only do one block at a time. I have to pick from my stash and I can't plan it, like I can't plan it out on paper or whatever. I have to just look and go, okay, these 3, and I'm going to put this here, this here, this there, kind of like
Mhm.
that. And then my next one has to be different. So this is the second one. So it's the same pattern, but different fabrics.
Yeah,
Right?
so it looks very different.
And then the center has like a patriotic kind of
Okay, the words.
print. Yeah. And then the paisley. And then the third block that I have done, because the reds are more the kind of, let me turn off this light and see if they're more, like cherry red instead
Yeah.
of like,
They look like more pink on the camera, which might
yeah,
be
which they're
not totally
red,
accurate.
but yeah. So this is my third block.
Oh,
Ooh,
wow.
Pretty.
To go.
That's a new
in with
design,
it.
right?
What?
That's a different design, right?
It is. It's a different design. And I did different than what the pattern calls for. So the pattern calls for all of this to be the same fabric. And I think it was like these 2 were the same, these 2 are the same. So I changed it. I changed my fabric placement, but I really, really love it. And I liked that last minute, because I originally had chose this for the center.
Purple.
And
Yeah.
last minute I found I was doing my scraps, working on something else, and I found that little scrap of that beautiful teal. And I go, wait, that's the color of the letters on this one. And I said, oh, I'm going to incorporate that in this block. So, and it's funny, as I was listening to Chantel talk about taking the color from the previous one and incorporating it in the next block, I've actually
You
did
had
that.
just done that.
I did it for the first one to the second one as well, not thinking about like
Yeah,
not setting that parameter. I just naturally did it. So it was so funny. We're always on the same page. It always cracks us up.
that's funny.
But yeah, so I have 3 blocks done now. And this sew along goes to, I believe, the first week of October, I think. So I still have a couple weeks, um, you know, or a couple months, uh, to finish that. So, but I'm liking it. I'm
That'll
liking
be
how
fun.
it's coming.
I think I will not totally have finished all my stars. I think I have 1 star left to go on my Tula Nova. But I have a bunch of like larger, I think they're hexagons that I have to still like fussy cut and get in there. I remember I was in that schoolhouse when she unveiled this, and everybody was like super excited about it. And they were also like, where are those stripes coming from? And she's like, well, you could use the cave stuff, but it was clear that it wasn't the cave stuff. And the very next collection she put out was her new version of True Colors that had all the stripes. So I was glad that I didn't do it like right away because I wanted to use, now I can use all the stuff that she actually used in it. But it was like everybody, like, I think she knew no one was going to actually finish it in that time frame. They're just going to buy it and cross their fingers, and then it'll come out when people can grab it then. But yeah, I'm a little nervous about fussy cutting all the stripes. I know Chantel has like a process, but we'll see. We'll see if I can figure it out because they have to kind of be mirror image of each other.
Yeah. That with the Queen of Diamond, there was a couple blocks like that. And when I started cutting it, really matching those up to so that they line up cohesively. I mean,
That's
it's a
going to
labor,
be
it's
a
a labor of
process
love. Yeah.
for sure.
You got to want to do it because it takes that extra time. But the one that I did, I mean, there's a lot of them, and I only did one. The one that I did, I love that I took the time to do that. But I'm learning. Not, I shouldn't say like I go fast or anything because I've never really sewn fast. I don't craft fast. I don't do art fast. I do everything slow, right? Slow. Anything artistic, I just take my time. But I've really learned to, I guess, embrace the process. So many steps of process of creative works kind of get poo-pooed on, people, oh, I don't like to do binding, or oh, I don't like to do the, starching, or, that type of
Yeah.
thing. I've kind of really started to learn to embrace a lot of those and learn to just kind of stop and smell the roses and enjoy that part of the creative
Hmm.
process, because I feel like it's in those moments that you have those um those pattern making moments, just like where you when you were up at night and being kept up, that was the moment that you figured out, oh, this beautiful pattern, and it winds up being one of your best selling patterns. I feel like,
Like of all time.
yeah. Oh, really? The one. It was the one.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
So
is like the best that and kit.
yeah, and it
It was
in
so
that
much.
in that moment you had to, even though it was like, oh, I can't sleep because this is happening, you stopped and, just kind of the calmness of the mind just let out this creativity that was there, that maybe was otherwise inhibited from the hustle and bustle of, everything else you do in the creative world. So
So I will say though, like with that, um, it kind of goes both ways. So a lot of designs come to me like in the middle of the night, still do when I'm working on stuff. But if it's too late and I'm too tired, like it's not gonna go well at all. Like one time recently, I was trying to figure out how I was going to make a project bag work that was supposed to be, it's for the book. It doubles as like a pencil case and a project bag, and I wanted to include vinyl and um zipper. And I was thinking like I could not figure out how to do this stupid zipper so that would work. And I'm just like thinking and visualizing it in my head. And I was like, finally, like, I have to go to bed. Like, and then as soon as I woke up in the morning, I was like, there it is. There it is. So I don't know. I guess it just is the way it is. But yeah, I totally get like enjoying the slow process of it.
Yeah. And embracing the moments that are, maybe that I perceive as being kind of unpleasant. I used to, when I really started quilting a lot, about 10 years ago, and really got into like more quilting than actual sewing, right? Um, and everything, I did not like the process of cutting and using the rotary blade and cutting. And I would
Hmm.
be so aggravated that I had to cut this stuff out, right? And then, I started to see after a few years, some companies started doing, pre-cut type things and other different tools you could use to make it easier. And so I would tinker around with some of that stuff. But eventually I was at one of the sew-ins at my local quilt shop, and one of the ladies said, just take your time with it. She goes, just chat while you're doing it. Just, think about something else. And before you know it, it's done. And I thought, okay, embrace the pain. And ever since I did that, I've actually learned to really love cutting. Cutting out my fabric is one of my favorite steps now, because I took the time to just stop and kind of smell the roses and embrace the moment of it. And that may not be for everyone, but it definitely worked for me. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I just learned to
I'm
embrace some of that.
I'm pretty quick with the cutting because I want to get to the sewing. That's my favorite
Yeah.
part. But I do very much enjoy for a special item or just a special feature, fussy cutting. Like I have had so much fun
I
like
know.
doing this where they
Yeah.
all are just like space the same.
That-
Like that has
That's
been
very
really fun.
gratifying. Yes.
It is
That was
so
how it was
gratifying.
with the hexies, with the coffin hexies for me. I could not believe how much fun I had fussy cutting out all those hexies. For I had sent Chantel a picture of the stack I have for her, just for her, not even mine included in it. It is so huge. It's like 4 or 5 inches tall. It is so
You've
big.
had a good time, is what you've had.
Yes, and I just kept going because it was so much fun. So I totally get that.
Yeah, I do too.
Favorite part is piecing, always piecing. But I enjoy cutting too, especially if I'm going to do, let's say I'm going to do a kit, right? And I'm going to do the whole kit, right? I'm going to cut everything for it. That's pretty gratifying. You say, oh my gosh, look at all this
Yeah.
stuff. Now all I have to do is sew, I can just sit and sew now. So I like that.
Well, I bought a few kits in the beginning thinking, oh, everybody else is doing it. There must be something to this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, this is years ago, right? And I found that I really don't care for kits because I feel like, well, everybody else is making the exact same thing. And what makes mine unique and different? Nothing, right? And so that was another thing that helped me learn to embrace and love cutting, is that I'm like, well, if I want mine to be individual and unique, I've got to cut it out myself, right? And pick my own fabrics and not just do everything in one whole collection. And, um, you know, and so you have a lot of cutting involved to do that. And
My thing was when I first started quilting, I started seeing things and I said, oh, I really like that. So it never occurred to me to even think about that somebody else was making it. I didn't care. I saw that hanging on the wall right in the quilt shop and I said, oh, I love that. And
you
so
like that.
so is kits. So I do a lot of block of the months and kits and stuff. But I've also, I get lots of magazines, and of course there's like millions and gazillions of free patterns out there, right? so really there's no need to, but still I love to do something like I can see the finished project, right? I already know what I'm doing. I like that part of it. But my husband, I got tickled at him, like he doesn't really know a lot about what I do. I mean, he knows that I quilt and I sew and all of that stuff, and he sees my quilts and things, but he says, "Are you ever going to do a one-off?" And I was like, what does he even know what that means? But he did, and he just meant, are you ever going to do something that's just yours? You're not copying anybody's pattern, you're not using their fabrics. And I said, "Oh, I'm sure I will at some point. I don't know when." I said, "I got like 500 projects here that are already purchased that I need to be doing." Don't need to be
That's funny.
inventing something else. I mean, that's like that. I don't know if I talked to y'all about that. If you saw my, it was called the Iris quilt that I got in one of my friends. She goes to the quilt shop that's over across town where I take my machine, and they were going to have a mystery quilt, and you were going to work on it that day. You didn't know what it was. They sent you the fabric requirements, so you're picking fabric for something you don't have a clue, right? Like what you're making. And so at noon we got the pattern, and it was called the Iris quilt. And let me show you what it was. So anyway, I ended up making, it had 3 different sizes. You could make a lap, no, a baby, a lap, or a twin. And it's like, well, I like bigger quilts, right? I want to put them on a bed. So I made the lap quilt. It took 2 jelly rolls and then some yardage, but it's my favorite quilt. I'm actually entering it in the show that's at the end of the month.
Wow.
It just, the fabrics, it was, what was that fabric? Song or I got it right here. Hang on. It's called Ladybird by Crystal Manning from Moda. Beautiful fabric, but let me pull up real quick and I'll show you that quilt. But it's very easy. It looks like a lattice type thing, right? And nothing special about it as far as, okay, I'm going to enter it, right? But I just thought it was pretty. Here it is. Let me see if I can get the picture to come up just by it.
Oh,
That
wow.
is really pretty.
That is gorgeous.
I
But it
like
was
that.
just so we got there, and we had some, like the strips, my 2.5-inch jelly roll strips. I had to pair those up, and she just come around like with a clue or whatever, the first instruction, and it says take 2 of your jelly roll strips and sew them together, right? And make however many sets, 9 or 10 sets of those. So 20, take 20 strips and make 10 sets of 2, right? Then she come around and she said, now make so many sets of 5. Okay, then so many sets of 7, then so many sets of 9. Well, I never even got to the 7 and the 9, right? Because once you did those strip sets, then you cut them apart at 6.5 inches. Still didn't know what I was making, right? So I did the 2s, I did the 5s, I was working on the 7s and cutting them apart. And then at lunch when we broke, she gave us the pattern. It's like, now I know what I'm making. It was weird, but it's a beautiful quilt. Those fabrics. Actually got those. I think Eleanor Burns' website had a sale probably 6-8 months ago, maybe a little bit longer. Quick Biscuit, and they had jelly rolls for $14.99.
Oh, holy cow.
So
Oh my
guess
goodness.
what? Donna raised her hand, said, "Yes, ma'am." So I think I bought
Oh.
like 10. I bought 5
Yes,
of.
I would too.
I bought 2 of 5 different ones or something like that. You know what I mean? And it was the same for like the layer cakes and things, whatever, the things that are usually, $40 or, in some of my quilt shops, they're over 50 now for a jelly roll. And so
Yeah.
$14.99, I was like, oh yeah. And then they were top of the line, good quality fabrics. It's like, I'm sorry. I know you can go broke buying stuff on sale, but I couldn't help it. And those 2 jelly rolls, so that quilt cost $30 so far, plus my
That's not
time.
bad.
So
Yeah.
the actual pattern is called Iris,
Yeah,
right?
it's called the Iris quilt. Hang on, let me see if I can pull it up.
Do you
real quick.
remember the pattern maker?
I can go get it. But the thing about that too was the instructions, like I said, we didn't know what we were making. It had a little note on it, and it said, note, if you choose a darker background and a lighter sashing, the quilt looks different. So my quilt is actually opposite of the quilt. Like they
Oh.
had, so they had, let let me just grab it. Let me grab it. It won't take but a minute. Let me grab that pattern.
Sure.
But so like my sashings were dark, and then my squares that were in there, that which they called the foundation fabric, they were white. Instead of in the pattern, it's just the opposite. It's a dark foundation, and then the sashing is light. Hold on just a second.
So I have one time we have a thrift store in town. I think you've heard me talk about it before, Steph.
Yeah.
And I went down there and I had found a whole bunch of quilt books and stuff.
You
And
sound like Chantel at the
yeah,
shop in London or wherever.
exactly. And so I went to the manager that was there and I was like, if I buy all of these, will you make me a deal? And they had them marked like, I don't know, $1.50. So they were so cheap. But I mean, we're talking like a 3.5 foot stack
Oh my
of
gosh.
quilt books, right? It was like 2 or 3 boxes full.
That's insane.
And the manager goes, sure, how about $10? And I was like, okay. And I
Yep.
bought them all. Well, in there is a pattern, and they're all like really old. There's nothing, I would say nothing in the last 10 years. It's all, and most of it is like 90s or the 80s, I mean, it's like old
Probably
stuff, right?
somebody passed away and it got put there by
Probably.
the family.
Right. And a lot of it was like out of town stuff, like historical stuff.
Yeah.
Like
That I enjoy a
there
lot.
was one that was like New Hampshire quilt and some Virginia stuff, like up the East Coast. So whoever it was, they were from out here. But anyhow, so there's one of the patterns that is called the Iris quilt in there. And what it is it's this huge applique, but it's gigantic. It's like 4.5 feet tall when you lay it out and everything. And it's irises and it's applique that you put down. So when she said the iris quilt, my ears perked up because I was like, oh, I wonder if this is the same pattern. I mean, clearly,
Oh, there's so many things that get
I
named the same thing.
I know, but you never know. And so, yeah. But that it was funny because that made me think of that. I really should pull that out. I bet you that would look beautiful in collage, especially since I'm doing so much collage
You're
work.
all into that right now.
Yes. Yes, which I got my next month and I'm very excited. I know my goal was to start on the collage and I haven't did that the next one yet, but what I did do is I backed up a lot more fabric with the steam seam to light, so it's ready. And then I will be able to
I
start.
have oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'll be able to start working on that. I'm like when the baby's sleeping after Zoe
Yeah.
has the baby. That'll give me something quiet to do, where I don't have to have the sewing machine
going. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here's the pattern. This is called the Iris Quilt. It's by Erica Jackman, Kitchen Table Quilting. But it is jelly roll, back quarter, or scrap friendly. So you could very well use your scraps. But there's what the pattern looks like.
Wow, yours does look a lot different than that.
Because they've put white sashing, and then see the diamonds there? They're dark. And then here's mine. Mine is the opposite.
That's really fun.
Right. But I love that coloring, that the line you picked, the fabrics.
Oh, these fabrics are super gorgeous. It's like I finished doing that at retreat in Alabama, and I had put up a design wall right behind my machine because there's only there's kind of like two design walls that are together. Then there's one, and they're not very big, and then there's one at the other end of the room. So I just went ahead and brought my I brought my own design wall, and like a portable one, 72 by 72, and I just set it up behind my chair. And every time I got up and then I come back, it's like, man, I love that fabric. I just kept saying that to myself. It's like so it was pretty anyway, right? But the more I looked at it, the more I liked it, and I thought, this is really not a show quality quilt, right? It's just a quilt. But I could enter 4, and it's like I don't care. It was beautiful fabric, and I just
You
love it.
enjoyed it. You
So
enjoyed the
I
But why
process.
do you think it's not a show quality quilt? I mean, I feel
Well,
like
because a lot of like my show quilts, right? They're very intricately pieced, right? They're custom quilted. They're, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I'm gonna do an edge to edge on this. I'm gonna be cool with that, right? And it's just it's very simple strip pieced, it was you really could do it in if you sat down start to finish, probably 3 days, you're done or less. Once I knew what I was doing, it would go a lot quicker. But then it has, I don't know, I don't know where my picture is. Let me show you a different picture of it. So when you're making it, this is what it looks like. I've got to trim it still, mine. I don't know if you can see that, but
Oh, so you got to make it even.
all the edges are going to be cut. They're going to be trimmed off. So those pieces, I don't know, I'll take off and I don't know, make something with them because I'm not going to waste all of that. It looks a little bit different. You can see it better in this, but that's how it's showing it laying the opposite way.
Yeah,
But
when
that's
it comes
not all
out.
gets cut off. That's a lot that gets cut off. So I have to trim it down and then it's ready to quilt. And it doesn't have a border or anything else outside of that. You just bind it. So
where did you get you said you had a portable display
design
design
yeah.
wall.
So hang on just a second.
Is it
It's right.
something that you made or did you buy?
No.
Because I'm
I know
curious.
Cave has
So
one.
you can
that's
go
bigger.
online. I just went online and it's just you know how sometimes your tent poles, how they're kind of like on elastic, and when you pull, then you can break them all down into like a 3-section instead of 8 foot or
Yeah.
whatever it is. That's how this goes. And then it has little brackets that fit at the end, but it's called Cheryl Ann's Design Wall, and it's by offthewallquilt.com. This is a 72 by 72. And so you just lay it comes like a big old hemmed piece of flannel, soft, very soft flannel. And you lay that out. And then you just start putting the rods, you get them so that they're all one straight piece. And then you run that through the edges. And then there's 2 legs that come off of the back, like there's a clip and there's a hole for you to put that rod in. So you're snapping that onto what you've created, your frame for the quilt wall. You snap it onto that, and then you essentially have 2 legs that it's kind of like it sits kind of like an easel, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So do you think that would be a good thing? Because I don't have a space in my home. I have a small home. And I don't have a space to put a design wall up on the wall. Do you think that is a good solution for having a design wall, something that I can put up and take down here often? Not like, a couple times a year, but like almost daily or several times a week?
For me, it takes a few minutes to get it set up and everything. So if you were going to do that, my recommendation, like in my, I have a guest bedroom that has like a double fold closet. I use thumbtacks and I buy the flannel black tablecloth from Walmart. I bought 2 and I ran them all the way across that wall. Right. If I need in that closet, that's right where my split is. I can just move that second. Like if you just put one up, if you just wanted to put one up, which they're, I can't remember how wide, but they're like 72. I think they're longer than 72. I think they're 80 something. Anyway, they go almost to the floor, from the ceiling to the floor. But you could do that, and you could also rig it up so that you could loop a string from the ceiling, come up around the bottom of it, and then you could pull, like put one on each end of your design wall, right? You could pull that would gather the design wall and it would just sit at the ceiling. Then when you got ready to use it, let that down. Yeah, just drop it back down, or whatever, or however you wanted to do it. You could put, you could put 3 or 4 tacks across the top to hold it up, right? So it's a small hole in the wall. And then if you wanted to, you could actually take that down, right? Like just take the whole thing down and
I
then
haven't done
I would
this yet.
some command hooks or something if I was going to be taking it down and putting it up. As far as this, you would spend, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes putting it up and then, a few minutes taking it down each time. Wouldn't want to take it. I myself wouldn't want to be putting it up and taking it down all the time. If I was going to, put it up to design a quilt and lay it out for the day, that would probably be okay too.
Okay.
But as for me, I would do the flannel back tablecloth. I mean, you can even get them at Dollar Tree if you can find them. And you do not have to pin a block on that. Like the ones that I get, I can stick my block up there. It'll sit up there all day unless I turn my ceiling fan on and it blows it off, right? I can even get in and out of my closet half the time and I won't knock a block off of there.
Oh, wow.
I
So
haven't done this yet.
happen to pin something to a design wall. I don't like to do that.
I haven't done this yet, but I have the materials. What I have some foam core board from that you would use for insulation, and I need to get a second one and cut it so that it'll fit like height wise in my basement where I sew, because we have a little bit lower ceiling there.
Now, are you talking about like the pink stuff that's like
The pink
2
stuff,
inches
yeah.
thick? It's
Yep.
real thick. Okay.
Yeah. And then I got a 108-inch wide piece of flannel backing, and I'm going to tape the center so that it is like with duct tape, so it's like a hinge.
Oh,
So
okay.
that way and then I'll tape, the flannel backing around it too. But that way I have to figure out how I'm going to do it with a fold, because obviously the fabric will need a fold at the top too. But my plan with that is to be able to have it like be up and flat if I'm working on it and just covering like my quilting shelves that have my quilts on it. And then I can fold it in half and slide it under my long arm when I'm not using it.
Yes.
But that also is going to require me to clean out underneath my long arm. So this is really why I haven't like
Did it yet because
prioritize this project. Yes.
you
But
have to have a place to put it for sure.
I do for sure. But it is now 11:18. I've got to drive kids back to my home tomorrow. So I think we're going to call it a day. But we'll be back next week at 9:30 Central. So that'll be fun. And I should be back at my house, and so it will not be so chaotic for me actually getting something up ahead of time so everyone knows that yes, we are going to do the thing. So,
All right. Well, we
all
will
right.
see you then.
See
Y'all
you
have
next
fun.
week.
Drive safe.
Good luck
Have a
getting
good
everything
week.
done.
Pretty. Make something pretty.
Yeah, hopefully a lot of pretty things for the book. So we'll see how that goes.
Good night.
Okay,
All right.
bye.
Bye.